Hi y'all. So I'm filming this video pretty much back to back with the other one I just uploaded. Um, Little background, I helped my sister move into her new house today. Um, Myself, my dad, and three very close friends of my sister's, we all um, pretty much made a day of it. I was there like 10 till 6, so yeah, good 8 hours. That said, I have a herniated disc and am therefore not exactly the most valuable asset when you need help moving. I did contribute some. I carried all of the one person little couches and love seats by myself, which I will happily brag about because they were heavy and I'm super strong and I bench 250. I just have to be super careful about my form. Otherwise, I'll end up even more disabled than I currently am. So I didn't do all that much, and I was pretty out of commission for some of it. Had to take some pain meds with me just in case that I did end up taking. Um, what I'm trying to say here is I ended up having a good deal of spare time where I just wasn't really doing anything, especially compared to the other people helping. Um, so I was kind of just bored sitting in the car, and I had just some time to myself to think. And I decided to write down in my notes app anything I thought was an interesting enough thought to talk about later on video. And these are all their own individual thoughts, but they also do all fit into overarching stuff. Largely stuff that I've probably talked about already in some capacity on my channel, but I'll just, go over things briefly. Ugh, why can't I flatten this part? It's annoying. Um, Firstly, I think out of every creature that we have as humans collectively um, fucked up the evolution of, or at least massively fucked over based on how they've already evolved, I think worms have gotten it some of the worst. Because we all know what happens every time it rains. The worms, usually in the dirt, come up to the surface. But nowadays, what happens is because it's raining and it's wet everywhere, the worms don't know not to go to the pavement or the concrete while it's raining. And while it's still raining and it's still wet, the worms receive, they get adequate moisture, I guess, and they don't die. But then it stops raining, the worms are all still on the street and they dry up and die. In my old neighborhood, I don't know why my old neighborhood was as worm heavy as it was. Um, but every single time it rained, the next day on the sidewalks, side of the either side of the sidewalk, if there was grass on the other side, would be completely covered in dead worms. Like it would practically look like the sidewalk had been painted black just because of the sheer volume of dried up worm corpses. And it's like you can't really blame them, can you? Because on the scale of time of how long evolution takes, concrete was invented like yesterday, maybe even a few hours ago, if that made sense. So obviously, worms don't have any fucking idea or any instincts in regards to what it is and the fact that they have to avoid it. So of course that's going to happen. They're just going to fucking die, and there's literally nothing they can do about it because there's no capacity in which they even can know any better. And the way evolution tends to work, I have my own video about this already because I love the concept of evolution. But like when you think about it, evolution is truly completely random. Like, um, Mutations happen at random, but then they either will or will not permit a creature to survive, to continue living, and to reproduce. And the more that a creature with a certain mutation reproduces, the greater the chance that that specific mutation will show up again and again. And then eventually it becomes widespread. And that happens again and again. And in that regard, every creature just continues to evolve to survive the best that it can. So it's completely incidental and not on purpose on the one hand, but it's also just constantly happening all around us. And it's observable, even, which is amazing, on the other. However, clearly humans have fucked with that a great deal, which is why I still will die on the hill that intelligence is the antithesis of nature. And you can say that that's a good thing, you can say that that's a bad thing, but that's how I view it. I think human intelligence and human our concepts of society and of inventions, I think they are antithetical to the concept of nature and what is natural. Uh, Moving on. Um, so, like, it just occurred to me that British people presumably have a British Siri, and that all of their and that Google Maps over there is probably in kilometers. So now I'm just picturing British Siri just being like in 2.4 kilometers, you know? Um, and it's just the kind of thing that, in retrospect, after the first time it occurs to you, it is extremely obvious. Like, there's absolutely no reason that that wouldn't be the case, because of course it would. But also, it's just something that previously hadn't, like, specifically occurred to me. Like, I never thought about that in particular. Um, it doesn't mean I can't accept it as a very implicit fact. It just was one thing that hadn't specifically crossed my mind. So yeah, British Siri saying the word kilometer. And this, of course, harkens back to the overarching theme of linguistic and cultural differences in general, which is really one of my favorite concepts to talk about, especially because of how truly impossible it is to put a finger on exactly why all of it happens. There's so many talks about you can also fit the theme of nature versus nurture into this, you know. um, I'm pretty sure I already have a video on that, though. Let's see here. Oh, here's a few pet peeves of mine. um, Firstly, let me demonstrate to all of you why this next one is a relevant concept to me personally. Oh my gosh darn zipper. Here's my hair here. Um, and as you can hopefully tell by how beautiful it is very important to me. Um, so, a pet peeve of mine. If I'm ever talking to a friend and I say, "Oh man, I feel like I'm having a bad hair day today. I feel like I'm not quite up to par." Um, so often this happens, and then my friends say, "Oh no, I mean it looks the same as usual." And it's like, dude, like fuck you. I just told you I think that my hair looks bad, and the first thing you say is that it looks the same as usual. All that tells me is that my hair looks bad all the time. Like, that's what you're implying, and I know that none of my friends would ever say that, because I'm not friends with mean people. Well, I'm not friends with genuinely mean people. I do get bullied a lot, but neither here nor there. Like, I know that that's not what people mean with that. You know, I know that people don't have any desire to just be like, oh no, your hair always looks fucking stupid and you suck. They're just trying to reassure me, but it's like that's not the way to do it. You know, just tell me that I'm not having a bad hair day and that I'm being dumb. Don't tell me that it looks the same as usual. And why does it happen every time that that's specifically the first sentence that people say? So there's a pet peeve. Oh, here's another thing. And this is also harkening back to a random Instagram reel I saw once. It was this British guy saying that like, oh, this is what every American thinks will happen if Europeans just buy AC. And then it's going from him, a video of him, and the background cover is like a hell stock image, like fire, and then it's like camera cuts. Presumably, the European has bought the AC, and it's all polar bears, and the music turns happy. And then the caption to this Instagram reel was, "Oh yeah, totally, climate change is solved now." Um, and there were like multiple people in the comment sections saying like, "Oh, why do Americans think climate change is just going to be solved if we all buy AC?" And it's like, who the fuck said that? It's just every single summer, a fucking horde of British people come online and start talking about, oh, there's just nothing like a British heat wave. You've never experienced European heat. Wait till you hear about the humidity. And we don't even have AC either. And it's like, go fucking get AC then. Get one if you're going to complain about it like that. No, it's not going to solve global warming. Of course it's not. Why did you guys independently make up the notion that anyone had ever thought that? None of this makes any sense to me. But yeah, if you're gonna complain about your 75-degree heat wave, then just go get an AC. If your buildings are all so insulated and your architecture is so goddamn outdated that it can't handle the heat and your humidity is so much worse, you should probably just fucking get an air conditioning unit and just put it on your window, and then you individually will be okay. Of course, that's not going to solve climate change, but like, that's not what we're saying. We just want you to quit fucking whining, man. Oh yeah, so the vision scale. So if somebody has 20/20 vision, that's the gold standard. That's what you want. That's perfect vision. So I was always under the assumption that that meant if you have less than 20/20 vision, that would mean that the top number goes down. Like if you have 19 out of 20 vision, then your vision is like 95% pretty good, you know? As it turns out, instead of the top number going down, the bottom number goes up. So like if you have worse than 20/20 vision, okay, the way I found out about this was my brother-in-law had a pretty bad eye injury, which actually knocked down his eyesight a few pegs. Hopefully, it's temporarily. And he was talking about it, and he says, "Yeah, my at the worst point of it, my vision in my right eye went from 20/20 to 2200." And I was just like, "Wait, what the fuck? Like, why did the smaller number? Sorry, why did the bottom number get bigger instead of the top number getting smaller? Why is that the kind of fractions we're going by? This is bothering me so badly." There. Um, that really just doesn't make sense to me. Man, my shirt had a stain too. But apparently that's how it works. So, like, the closer you get to having perfect vision, the closer the bottom number shrinks down to be 20 until it's 20/20. And then if it's 20/60, um, it's slightly worse. 2200 is like legally blind. But yeah, that's just so not implicit to me. I have no idea why it is that way. Um, that's not to say I don't assume that there is a reason or that I couldn't come to understand it if I decided to do some kind of research on it. But That's not happening. So yeah, that's all that I had written down. So that is it for this one. Goodbye.